Chloe had meticulously planned an elegant dinner party to celebrate her promotion to vice president of marketing at the firm. White roses adorned the centerpiece on the long mahogany table. Candles glowed softly. Crystal glasses sparkled under the dining room chandelier. I was upstairs, in my master bedroom, putting the finishing touches on my outfit. I wore a modest but sophisticated navy blue cocktail dress. On the lapel, I pinned the antique silver brooch my mother had given me just before she passed away. I looked at myself in the mirror and smiled. Today, my daughter is celebrating her success. I want to be there to witness it. Then I heard her voice from the bottom of the stairs. "Mom?" I stepped out into the hallway. "Yes, honey?" Chloe walked up 3 steps, stopping barely halfway, as if she didn't want to get too close. "Don't come down, please." I stood still. "Excuse me?" She lowered her gaze. She took a deep breath, and when she looked back up at me, her eyes were cold, not like my daughter's at all. "You're embarrassing, Mum." The air left my lungs. "Chloe, what are you talking about?" "The dinner, Mum. My mother-in-law is going to take your seat at the table." She continued. "She knows how to behave at a formal event like this. She's much more refined." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked at her, and I smiled. Because in that instant, something inside me shattered, but something else, my resolve, locked into place. "All right, honey," I said calmly. "Enjoy your dinner." I closed my bedroom door. I sat down on the edge of the 4-poster bed. I touched the silver brooch, and I waited. I listened to the faint sounds of laughter downstairs, the clinking of glasses, the loud, overly cheerful voice of my son-in-law, Ryan, and his sharp, condescending laugh. The familiar, deep voice of his mother, Charlotte, had taken my place at my dining table. 30 minutes later, I stood up. I adjusted my hair, put on my pearl earrings, and checked my makeup. Then I walked down the stairs. When I reached the dining room, everyone turned to look at me. Chloe went pale. Ryan's smile vanished. Charlotte frowned, but I wasn't alone. Walking beside me, in an impeccable suit and with a cordial smile, was Mr. David Sterling, the CEO of Sterling Harris Group, the multi-billion-dollar corporation where my daughter had just been promoted. David extended his hand toward Chloe. "Chloe, I'd like to formally introduce you to Mrs. Eleanor Harris," he announced. "She is the majority shareholder of the Sterling Harris Group. Your promotion was personally approved by her." The silence that followed was so profound, you could have heard the wine glasses tremble. Chloe didn't move. I simply said, "Good evening. Enjoy your meal." And I turned around and walked back upstairs. I didn't go back down that night. But everything changed that night. My name is Eleanor Harris. I'm 57 years old. And before I tell you what happened after that night, you need to understand how I got there. No mother reaches that moment by accident. I was born in Chicago, in a family that ran a small textile manufacturing business. We weren't wealthy, but we never went without. I learned the value of hard work from an early age, the smell of freshly cut fabric, the sound of machines starting up before dawn. My father's hands stained with ink as he reviewed invoices every night. My mother was a quiet, elegant woman, always wearing that silver brooch pinned to the collar of her blouse. She told me, "Eleanor, a woman who knows when to remain silent also knows when to speak." I admired her for that. I studied business administration at the University of Michigan and graduated with honors. I met Robert Harris there. He was an engineering student. He was serious, responsible, and came from an old money family in Boston. We married 2 years later. It was a simple ceremony: white flowers, a string quartet. My mother gave me her silver brooch that day. So you remember where you come from, daughter? Robert got a job at a textile company. I decided to stay home when Chloe was born. It felt like the most natural decision in the world. My daughter. My entire universe. Those big eyes that looked at me as if I were the only light in her life. I remember mornings in the kitchen, the aroma of hazelnut coffee. Chloe sitting in her high chair, hands covered in blueberry pancake batter. Me singing lullabies while I prepared breakfast. Robert reading the Wall Street Journal, serious as ever, but smiling every time Chloe called out, "Mommy!" Those were good years, peaceful years. We lived in a modest townhouse in a nice suburb of Chicago, nothing ostentatious. A small backyard where Chloe played with her puppy. A patio with potted hydrangeas that I watered every afternoon. The living room had inherited furniture from my mother-in-law. When Chloe turned 5, my father fell ill with lung cancer. I moved back to Chicago to care for him. Robert stayed in Boston with Chloe. My mother couldn't manage the business alone, and neither could I. One afternoon, my father took my hand. "Eleanor, the factory is yours. Don't sell it. You have vision. You have strength. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." He died 3 weeks later. I inherited the factory. Robert strongly disagreed. "You have no experience, Eleanor," he insisted. "Sell it. Use the money for Chloe's education." But something deep inside me refused. I hired an administrator, but I reviewed the books every single week. I traveled to Chicago twice a month. I learned to read balance sheets, negotiate with suppliers, and spot a lie instantly. The factory grew. In 5 years, we doubled production. We opened 2 more locations and hired 50 new employees. We started exporting to the East Coast. Robert still disapproved. "You are neglecting your family, Eleanor." But Chloe never complained. I would arrive home exhausted, but I always made time for her, to help her with her homework, to take her to the movies on Sundays, to listen to her talk about her dreams. "Mum," she would say, "when I grow up, I want to be just like you." Those words filled my heart. When Chloe was 12, Robert died in a car accident. A truck ran a red light. They told me he felt no pain. It was instantaneous. We were alone, Chloe and I. I cried for months, but I couldn't fall apart. I had a daughter. I had a company. I had responsibilities. I kept going. Chloe attended the best private schools. She never lacked anything. French lessons, summer trips to Europe, a new laptop every single year, everything she desired. I worked 12 hours a day, but every night we ate dinner together no matter what. That was our rule. "How was your day, sweetheart?" "Good, Mum. And yours?" "Tiring, but seeing your face makes it better." She would smile. When she turned 18, I told her, "Chloe, everything I have built is for you. Someday, this will all be yours." She hugged me. "Thank you, Mum. I won't disappoint you." She went to a prestigious university, studying business administration just like me. She hung out with friends. She dated. A normal life. I was incredibly proud. Until she met Ryan. He was a handsome, charming guy. Perfect smile. Son of a well-established family from Greenwich, Connecticut. His father was a prominent lawyer. His mother, Charlotte, organized major charity galas. At first, everything seemed fine. Ryan would come for Friday dinners. I would cook my famous lasagna or beef tenderloin. Chloe laughed more. She seemed happy. But something about Ryan's eyes, and later about Charlotte's, always bothered me. There was a coldness, a way they had of looking me up and down, as if I were less. One afternoon, I overheard a conversation. Chloe was on the phone in the backyard. I was watering the garden. "Yes, Mum," she said. I know, but Ryan has a solid future. Then she added, and his mother has the right connections. That's what matters. My blood ran cold, but I said nothing, because I still had hope. I still believed my daughter would see the truth. They married 2 years later. A huge wedding. 300 guests, imported flowers, a live band. I paid for absolutely everything. Chloe insisted that Charlotte organize the whole event. I just signed the checks. On the wedding day, Chloe hugged me. Thank you for everything, Mum. You're the best. I just want you to be happy, my love. But that night, when I saw Charlotte occupying the seat of honor next to the bride and groom, and I was seated 3 tables back, something inside me started to crack. The first few months after the wedding were strange. Chloe and Ryan moved into a chic apartment in a luxury high-rise in Manhattan, huge windows and a balcony overlooking the city. I helped them with the down payment. Chloe chose the designer furniture. I only asked, "Are you sure this is what you both want?" Chloe kissed my forehead. "Yes, Mum. Ryan has excellent taste." I said nothing more. Initially, they came for Sunday dinner, as we had always done. I cooked my comfort food: roast beef, mashed potatoes, apple pie. The recipes Chloe had loved since childhood. But Ryan barely touched the food. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Harris. I'm just on a very strict low-carb diet. You understand?" He would smile, but his eyes didn't. Charlotte sometimes came with them. She sat at the head of the table where Robert used to sit, where my father sat when he visited. I said nothing, determined to keep the peace. One afternoon, Chloe called. "Mum, I need a favor." "Tell me, honey." "Could you lend me $50,000? It's for some investment expenses." $50,000. It wasn't a small amount, but it wasn't something I couldn't give her either. "Did something happen?" "No, Mum. Just, I need the money." I transferred the money that same day. She never mentioned it again. 2 weeks later, I saw photos on Instagram of Chloe and Ryan in Miami. Luxury resort, cocktails by the pool, perfect sunsets, early anniversary celebration with my hubby, the caption read. I felt an odd knot in my chest, but I said nothing, because it was their money now, right? Sunday visits began to thin out. "Mum, we can't make it this Sunday. Ryan has an event with his family." "Mum, this weekend we're going to the Hamptons with the in-laws." "Mum, we're exhausted. Do you mind if we just stay in and rest?" I never minded. I always said, "Of course, my love, get some rest." But the house started to feel bigger, emptier. One day, I decided to surprise them. I stopped by their Manhattan apartment unannounced. I brought a container of my famous homemade macaroni and cheese. I knew Chloe loved it. I rang the doorbell. Ryan opened the door. He was wearing an expensive silk robe. His hair was perfectly styled, impeccable, even at home. "Mrs. Harris?" "Hello, Ryan. I brought mac and cheese. I thought, Chloe isn't here." "Oh, she went out?" "She's at work. Didn't she tell you? She got a job at Sterling Harris Group. She's been there for 3 weeks." Sterling Harris Group, my company, the company I founded, the one I built, that bore my last name, and my daughter was working there, and I didn't know it. "No, she didn't tell me." Ryan smiled, that cold smile I was beginning to recognize. "Well, Chloe wanted to do it on her own, you know, without Mummy's help." The word mummy sounded like an insult. "I see. Would you like me to come in?" "No, thank you. Just give me the mac and cheese." He closed the door. I stood in the hallway, the container in my hands, feeling something inside me begin to break. Chloe was working at my company, and she hadn't told me. That night, I called her. Chloe, why didn't you tell me you were working at Sterling Harris Group? Silence. Mum, I wanted to tell you, but what? I didn't want you to think I was taking advantage of you. I would never think that. I know, but Ryan says I have to make my own path. That if you help me, people will think I'm worthless on my own. Ryan says. Ryan says, Chloe, you are worth so much. You always have been. Thank you, Mum. But please understand. I need to prove to the world that I can do it alone. All right, honey. I hung up, and that night, I cried because my daughter was working at the company I built for her, and I didn't even know it. Sometimes we trust the wrong people too much. Have you ever been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to hear from you. The weeks passed. Chloe started climbing fast at the company. Too fast. David Sterling, my CEO, called me. Mrs. Harris, your daughter is very capable, very hard-working. I'm glad to hear that. We've thought about promoting her to logistics supervisor. Already, she has potential. I knew David was loyal, that he would do whatever I asked. But I also knew that if I intervened directly, Chloe would be angry, and Ryan would certainly be angry. So, I let things proceed naturally. But something kept me awake at night. One afternoon, I went to the Sterling Harris Group offices. I entered through the back door and took the service elevator. I reached the logistics floor and saw Chloe. She was in her cubicle, serious, focused, reviewing papers, talking on the phone. She looked happy. I was about to leave when I heard voices in the conference room. I recognized Ryan's voice. You have to ask your mom to put you in a better position. You can't stay in logistics. That's for ordinary employees. Ryan, I've only been here 2 months. It doesn't matter. She's the owner. If you ask her, she'll give it to you. Or doesn't she love you enough? Silence. My mum loves me, but I don't want to ask her for anything. Chloe, don't be naive. She has millions. Why not take advantage of it? My mum says you should be in management, not wasting time with boxes and shipping. I'm not wasting time. Do you know how much the director of operations makes? $300,000 a month. How much are you making? 30,000? It's ridiculous. I froze. So that was it. It wasn't love. It wasn't support. It was ambition. I slipped away without making a sound. That night, I touched the silver brooch I always wore, and I remembered my mother's words. A woman who knows when to remain silent also knows when to speak. It wasn't time to speak yet, but that moment was close. I decided to stay silent, not because I was a coward, but because I still had hope. Hope that Chloe would wake up, that she would see what I already saw, that she would remember who she was before she met Ryan. But hope sometimes makes us blind. The following months were like walking on broken glass. Every step hurt. But I kept moving forward. Chloe kept rising in the company. First, supervisor, then area coordinator, then assistant director of operations. David would call me every time there was a promotion. Mrs. Harris, do you agree to promote Chloe? Does she deserve it? She's a good worker, but there are others with more experience. Then give the position to them. With all due respect, Ma'am, your daughter comes to my office every week. She insists she's ready for more responsibilities. I remained silent. What do you want me to do, ma'am? Give her the position, David. but make her feel like she earned it herself. Understood. That's how it went for 2 years. Chloe grew in the company. She earned more money. Every promotion came with a raise, a new luxury car, an expensive watch, dinners at fancy restaurants I would never go to. And me? I remained the mother waiting for Sunday visits. But Sundays stopped coming. One afternoon, Chloe called me. Mum, Ryan and I are thinking of buying a house. A house? Yes, in the Hollywood Hills. There's an incredible property, 4 bedrooms, yard, pool. It's perfect. I'm happy for you, honey. The problem is, we need a little help with the down payment. How much do you need? $2 million. 2 million, I gasped. Chloe, that is a lot of money. I know, Mum, but it's an investment, and you always say that property is a good investment. Besides, we'll pay you back. I promise. I don't need you to pay me back. But are you sure you can afford to maintain a house like that? Of course we can. I'm earning well. And Ryan is about to open his investment consultancy. Ryan works. Well, not officially yet, but soon. Silence. Mum, are you going to help us or not? That question, that way of asking, as if I were obligated, as if it were my duty. Of course I will, honey. I transferred the money that same week. They never mentioned it again. 6 months later, I saw the pictures on social media. The house, huge, modern, with designer furniture, abstract art on the walls, a kitchen that looked straight out of Architectural Digest. Chloe posted photos every day. My perfect home. Thank God for this blessing, living the dream. She never tagged me. She never thanked me. She never invited me to see the house. One Sunday, I dared to call. Chloe, I'd love to see your new house. Oh yeah, Mum, sure. We'll set something up one of these days. That day never came. I started seeing Chloe only at corporate events. Shareholder meetings, corporate dinners, annual results presentations. She arrived with Ryan, always impeccable, always smiling, always distant. She greeted me with a kiss on the cheek. Hi, Mum. Hello, my love, how are you? Good. Busy, you know? And she would leave. Ryan looked at me from afar, with that calculating smile I knew so well. Sometimes he would approach. Mrs. Harris, what a nice dress. Thank you, Ryan. It's from where? A boutique in downtown Chicago. Ah, how lovely. But the tone said the opposite. Charlotte also came to those events, always on Ryan's arm, always elegant, always looking at me as if I were the intruder. One night, during a New Year's Eve gala, Charlotte sat next to me. Eleanor, how nice to see you. Likewise, Charlotte. Listen, I wanted to tell you something. Chloe has grown so much at the company. It must be a source of pride for you. It is. Ryan and I always tell her to take advantage of this opportunity. Not everyone has a mother, so generous. Generous. The word hung in the air like a veiled insult. I just want the best for my daughter. Of course, all mothers want that, but sometimes you have to know when to let them go. Let them fly solo. Do you understand me? I looked her straight in the eye. I understand perfectly, Charlotte. She smiled and walked away. That night, when I got home, I sat in the living room, in the same armchair where I used to read bedtime stories to Chloe. I touched the silver brooch, and I cried. I cried because my daughter was drifting away. I cried because she no longer called to tell me about her day. I cried because she no longer came on Sundays. I cried because I was no longer her priority. And the worst part was that I was allowing it, because I was afraid. Afraid of losing her completely. Afraid that if I said anything, she would cut me out of her life forever. So I stayed silent. I kept signing checks. I kept smiling in photos. I kept pretending everything was fine. But inside, I was dying. One day, Chloe asked me for another favor. Mum, I need you to sign some papers. What papers? It's for a new company project. I need your authorization. What is it about? It's technical. David already reviewed it. I just need your signature. I believed her. I signed. 2 weeks later, David called me. Mrs. Harris, did you authorize the purchase of 3 new luxury SUVs for Chloe's department? 3 SUVs? Yes, with a total cost of $250,000. I was stunned. David, I signed some documents, but Chloe told me it was for a project. Ma'am, the documents you signed authorized the purchase of those vehicles and also authorized a performance bonus for Chloe of $50,000. $50,000? David, did Chloe ask you to prepare those documents? Silence. Yes, ma'am. She told me you had already approved it. I hung up. And that night, something inside me changed. It was no longer sadness. It was no longer fear. It was clarity. That cold, painful clarity that comes when you finally accept the truth. My daughter was using me, and I was letting her. After that call with David, something awakened in me. It wasn't rage. It wasn't vengeance. It was lucidity. That uncomfortable lucidity that arrives when you finally realize you've been blind, that you've been justifying the unjustifiable, that you've been allowing yourself to be hurt because you were afraid of being alone. For days, I didn't call Chloe. I waited. I waited for her to call me, to ask how I was, to reach out. 1 week passed, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, nothing. Finally, I was the one who dialed. Chloe, I need to talk to you. Mum, I'm busy. Can it be later? It's important. She sighed. All right. What is it about? The documents I signed last month. David told me they authorized the purchase of 3 SUVs and a bonus for you. Silence. Chloe, you told me it was for a project. And it is, Mom. The SUVs are for the project. We need them. And the $50,000 bonus? It's part of my compensation. I work hard, Mum. I deserve that money. Chloe, I've never doubted your work, but you lied to me. I didn't lie. Mum, I don't have time for this. If you have a problem with how I'm handling things at the company, talk to David. Chloe, I have to go. See you. She hung up. I stood there holding the phone, my hands trembling. That night, I made a decision. If my daughter wouldn't tell me the truth, I would find it on my own. The next day, I went to the Sterling Harris Group offices. I didn't announce it. I didn't call. I just showed up. David received me in his office. Mrs. Harris, what a surprise. David, I need you to be honest with me. I always am, Mom. How is Chloe really performing? David lowered his gaze. Mom, please tell me the truth. He took a deep breath. Chloe is intelligent. She has potential. But she is not at the level of her current responsibilities. What do you mean? She is frequently late. She delegates too much. She makes decisions without consulting. And when something goes wrong, she blames others. I remained silent, Several employees have complained. They say Chloe has favoritism, that she only got where she is because she is your daughter. And is that true? David looked me straight in the eye. You know the answer, Mom. Yes, I did know. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because you asked me to treat her like any other employee. And I did. But every time I try to set limits, she tells me she's going to talk to you, that you support her. I never said that. I know, but she uses it as a shield. I stood up. Thank you, David, for your honesty. What are you going to do, Mom? I don't know yet. I left that office with a broken heart, but also with clarity. That afternoon, I did something I had never done before. I searched Ryan's and Chloe's social media profiles, not just the public photos, but also the comments, the tags, the interactions. And there I found something that chilled me to the bone. A public conversation between Chloe and one of her friends. The friend had commented on a photo of the new house. Friend, what a beautiful home. How did you guys do it? And Chloe replied, haha, thanks. You know, Ryan has his contacts. And his mum, well, she always loosens the purse strings. I read that phrase over and over. She always loosens the purse strings, as if I were a bank account, as if my love had a price. I kept looking, and I found more. Photos of trips, expensive restaurants, designer clothes, costly jewelry, all tagged, all flaunted. And in the comments, always the same story. Ryan spoiled me. My husband knows how to treat me. Blessed with this man. But never, never did she mention where the money came from. Never did she mention that I had paid for the house. Never did she mention that I had paid for the cars. Never did she mention that I had built the company where Chloe worked. It was as if I didn't exist. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed sitting in the living room, the silver brooch clenched in my fingers, and I remembered something my mother once told me. Eleanor, when someone erases you from their story, it's because they know that without you, there is no story. The next day, I decided to do something that hurt deeply. I went to Chloe and Ryan's house, unannounced. I rang the doorbell. Ryan opened the door. He was wearing branded sweatpants, his hair in a perfect ponytail, a coffee mug in his hand. Mrs. Harris? Hello, Ryan. Is Chloe here? No, she's at work. I see. May I come in? He hesitated, but finally nodded. Of course. I walked in. The house was even bigger than I had imagined. High ceilings, marble floors, extremely expensive furniture, huge paintings on the walls, all paid for with my money. Would you like coffee? No, thank you. We sat in the living room. Ryan, I want to talk to you. About what? About Chloe. About us? About all of this. He smiled, that cold smile. I don't understand. Yes, you do. He grew serious. Mrs. Harris, if you came here to complain about something, I didn't come to complain. I came to understand. Understand what? Why Chloe doesn't reach out to me anymore? Why she doesn't come to see me? Why? It seems like I no longer matter. Ryan set his mug down on the table. Ma'am, with all due respect, Chloe is an adult. She has her own life, her own family, I know. And sometimes mothers have to let go. There was that word again, let go. Ryan, I have never tried to control her. I just want to be in her life. And you are. But you can't pretend that everything should be the same as when Chloe was a child. I don't pretend that. Then what do you pretend? that she treats me with respect, that she doesn't lie to me, that she doesn't use me. Ryan stood up. No one is using anyone, Mrs. Harris. Chloe works hard. She deserves everything she has. I never said otherwise. But you imply it. You always imply it. As if Chloe weren't capable of anything without you. That's not true. Isn't it? Then stop treating her like your baby. Stop hovering over her. Stop controlling everything. I remained silent, because at that moment, I understood. No matter what I said, no matter what I did. To Ryan, I would always be the obstacle, the meddling mother, the inconvenient mother-in-law, the woman who was in the way. I stood up. Thank you for your time, Ryan. Mrs. Harris, don't worry, I understand. I left that house with tears in my eyes, but also with something else, with the certainty that I couldn't continue like this, that I could no longer beg for a place in my daughter's life, that I could no longer pay for love. That night, I called David. David, I need you to do me a favor. Tell me, Mom. I want you to organize a dinner at my house to celebrate Chloe's upcoming promotion. Promotion? Yes, we're promoting her to Director of Operations. Mom, are you sure? Completely sure. And who else will attend? Chloe, Ryan, his mother Charlotte, and you. Just the 5 of us. Just us. David hesitated. Mom, what are you planning? I smiled. Nothing bad, David. Just dinner. I hung up. And that night, as I touched the silver brooch, I knew the moment had arrived. The moment to speak. The moment to reveal the truth. The moment to let karma do its work. The week before the dinner was one of the longest of my life. Not because I was nervous, but because I had finally made a decision. And when a 57-year-old woman makes a decision after years of silence, that decision is definitive. Chloe called me 3 days before the dinner. Mum, David told me you organized a dinner to celebrate my promotion. That's right. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I wanted it to be a surprise. Oh well, thank you. You're welcome, my love. Will anyone else be there? Just the closest ones, Ryan, your mother-in-law, David. My mother-in-law? Yes, I thought it would be nice for Charlotte to be there. After all, she's part of your life now, too. Silence. All right, Mum. Are you happy about your promotion? Of course I am. I've worked hard for this. I know, honey. Well, I'll see you Friday then. See you. I hung up, and I smiled, because I knew something Chloe didn't. I knew that dinner was going to change everything. I spent the next few days preparing, not just the dinner, but myself. I went to my favorite stylist. I had my hair done. I got a manicure. I bought a new dress, a confident, elegant red, with a subtle but sure neckline. The woman in the mirror was no longer the one who had cried for months. She was a woman who had reclaimed her dignity. The Friday night arrived. I hired a catering service. White flowers on the table, candles, crystal glasses, silver cutlery, everything impeccable. The table was set for 6 people. At 7 o'clock, they began to arrive. Chloe came first, with Ryan. She wore a sleek blue dress, towering heels, perfect makeup, and long, glossy hair. Mum, Chloe kissed my cheek. Hello, my love. You look beautiful. Thanks. Ryan approached. Mrs. Harris, your house is lovely. It's been a while since we've been here. I smiled. Thank you, Ryan. It's been a while since I've been invited to yours, too. Ryan's smile froze. Oh, yeah, we've been so busy. I can imagine. Charlotte arrived 10 minutes later. She wore a cream-colored designer suit, a pearl necklace, and a branded handbag. She looked important. Eleanor, it's a pleasure to see you. Likewise, Charlotte. Your house is charming. Very cozy. Cozy. The word people use when they want to say small. Thank you. It's humble, but it's mine. We sat in the living room. I offered glasses of white wine. Chloe was nervous. She kept checking her watch. Is David coming? Yes, he'll be here shortly. Ryan looked at everything with those calculating eyes I knew so well. The furniture, the paintings, the decor. Mrs. Harris, have you ever considered remodeling? No. I like it the way it is. Ah, well, I could give you some ideas. You know, with my investment consultancy. I didn't know you had a consultancy, Ryan. Well, it's not officially open yet, but I'm working on it. Charlotte intervened. Ryan has so much potential. He just needs a little starting capital. She looked directly at me. I see. The doorbell rang. I stood up. That must be David. I opened the door, and there he was, in his impeccable suit, his leather briefcase, his professional smile. Mrs. Harris. David, thank you for coming. It's an honor. But David wasn't alone. Beside him was Mr. Thomas Miller, the corporate lawyer for Sterling Harris Group. Chloe didn't know him, but I did. We walked into the living room. Chloe immediately stood up. David? Good to see you, Chloe. Likewise, David. Congratulations on your promotion. Thank you. Chloe looked at Mr. Miller with confusion. And you are? Mr. Thomas Miller, corporate lawyer. Ah, nice to meet you. We sat at the dining table. I was at the head, Chloe to my right, Ryan next to her, Charlotte across from Chloe, and David and Mr. Miller at the ends. The catering service served dinner, cream of asparagus soup, arugula salad with raspberry vinaigrette, filet mignon with scalloped potatoes, fresh baked bread. Everything was perfect, but the atmosphere was tight. Chloe tried to make conversation. Mum, the food is delicious. Thank you, honey. Did you cook it? No, I hired a service. I wanted everything to be special. Ryan intervened. It's very elegant, Mrs. Harris. I didn't know you liked to host dinners like this. There are many things you don't know about me, Ryan. His smile faded. Charlotte tried to break the tension. Well, we're here to celebrate Chloe. You must be very proud, Eleanor. I've always been proud of my daughter. Of course. And now, with this promotion, she'll surely have many more responsibilities. That's right. Chloe took a sip of wine. David told me the position includes a considerable raise. Yes, David replied. Director of Operations has a salary of $350,000 a month. Ryan almost choked on his wine. 350,000? That's very generous. Charlotte smiled widely. Sterling Harris Group values its employees, I said. Especially when they're family, Charlotte added. There it was, the insinuation. I placed my fork on the plate. Charlotte, what do you mean by that? She adjusted her chair. Nothing bad, Eleanor. Just that it's logical for Chloe to have certain advantages. She's your daughter. It's natural for you to support her. Advantages? Yes, you know, quick promotions, bonuses, opportunities. Chloe intervened. Mum, I've earned every promotion. I know, honey. No, you don't know, because you've never been there. You've never seen how hard I work. Ryan touched her hand. Chloe, calm down. But she was already upset. No, Ryan. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of everyone thinking I'm only where I am because my mum is the owner. I remained silent. I've worked hard, Mum. I come in early. I stay late. I solve problems. I make decisions. And still, everyone thinks you handed me everything. David cleared his throat. Chloe, with all due respect. What, David? Do you think that too? David looked at me. I signaled him with a nod. Chloe, you are a good worker. But there are things you should know. Like what? Like every one of your promotions was approved directly by your mother. Every salary increase, every bonus, every benefit. Everything went through her authorization. That's not true. Yes, it is, I said. Everyone looked at me. I stood up from my chair. I touched the silver brooch on my dress. Chloe, I need to tell you something, and I need you to listen without interrupting. Mum, please. She fell silent. I took a deep breath. 32 years ago, I inherited a small textile factory in Chicago. No one believed in me. Not your father, not my brothers, not my associates. Everyone thought I would sell it, that I would fail. I walked around the table. But I didn't. I worked 14 hours a day. I learned from scratch. I negotiated. I fought. And little by little, that small factory became the Sterling Harris Group. Chloe looked at me with wide eyes. When your father died, you were 12. We were alone. And I promised you that you would never lack anything. And I kept that promise. Mum, I know all that. No, you don't, because I've never told you what it cost. I stopped in front of her. I paid for the best schools, the best trips, the best clothes, the best life. I never asked for anything in return. Only is that you be happy. Ryan lowered his gaze. When you married Ryan, I gave you $200,000 for your house. You never paid me back. You never even said thank you. Mum, we did thank you. When, Chloe? When? Silence. When you started working at Sterling Harris Group, I asked David to treat you like any other employee, to make you earn your place. But every time he tried to set limits, you threatened him by saying you would talk to me. Chloe turned pale. Every promotion you received was because I authorized it. Every bonus, every benefit, every opportunity, everything. Everything came from me. Mum, I didn't know. Of course you did. Everyone did. I looked at Ryan. You knew. That's why every time you needed money, Chloe asked me. Because you knew I would always say yes. Ryan opened his mouth, but nothing came out. I looked at Charlotte. And you knew it too. That's why you always treated me as if I were a bother. Because you knew that without me there would be nothing. Charlotte turned red. Eleanor, I never… Yes, yes you did. In every comment, in every look, in every insinuation that I should let go of my daughter. I turned back to Chloe. But what hurts me the most, honey, is that you pushed me aside. You stopped calling me. You stopped visiting me. You stopped seeing me. Tears started rolling down my cheeks. And I allowed it, because I was afraid. Afraid of losing you. Afraid that if I said anything, you would cut me out of your life completely. Chloe's eyes were moist. Mom. But tonight I understood something. I touched the silver brooch. My mother once told me, a woman who knows when to remain silent also knows when to speak. and the time to speak has come. The silence was absolute. Chloe, I love you. I have always loved you, but I can't go on like this. I can't keep paying for your love. I can't keep being invisible in your life. Mum, you are not invisible. Yes, I am. 3 months ago was my birthday. Did you call me? Chloe looked down. No. 6 months ago, I had gallbladder surgery. Did you know? No. A year ago, I sold the Chicago factory, the one I inherited from my father, the one that hurt so much to let go of. Did you find out? No. Do you know why you didn't find out? She didn't answer. Because you never asked. Chloe's tears began to fall. Mum, I'm sorry. I know, but apologies are not enough. I walked back to my place at the head of the table. Tonight, I was going to announce your promotion. I was going to celebrate you. I was going to keep pretending everything was fine. I looked at Mr. Miller. But instead, I'm going to do something different. The lawyer opened his briefcase. He pulled out a folder. Mr. Miller, please. He cleared his throat. I have prepared the documents that Mrs. Harris requested. Chloe looked at him with confusion. What documents? The documents for Mrs. Harris's resignation as the majority shareholder of the Sterling Harris Group. Everyone froze. What? Chloe jumped up. Mom, what are you doing? I'm letting go of you, Chloe, just like everyone wanted. No, you can't do that. Yes, I can. And I will. Ryan also stood up. Mrs. Harris, wait. No, Ryan. I've waited long enough. I looked at Chloe. Starting tomorrow, I will no longer be part of Sterling Harris Group. I'm selling my shares. And you will walk your path alone. Mum, please. I still wonder if I did the right thing. And you? What would you have done in my place? Chloe slumped back into her chair, her head in her hands. Charlotte was pale. Ryan was trembling. David looked at me with respect. And I finally breathed. Because for the first time in years, I felt I had regained my voice, my dignity, my power. The silence that followed my words was like the silence before a storm, heavy, electric, filled with things no one dared to say. Chloe lifted her head. Her eyes were red. Mum, you can't do this. I already did, honey. But the company is yours. It's your life. It was my life, before you turned it into a battleground. Ryan stood up abruptly. This is ridiculous. Mrs. Harris, you can't make decisions like this just because you're angry. I'm not angry, Ryan. I'm tired. Tired? Charlotte intervened. Eleanor, please, this is an exaggeration. All children distance themselves a little when they get married. It's normal. I looked at her with a calm that surprised even me. Charlotte, you have spent 2 years telling me to let go of my daughter, to let her fly, to step aside. Well, that's exactly what I'm doing. But not like this. Then how? How did you want me to do it? Should I keep paying in silence? Should I keep being the purse that always loosens the money? Ryan went pale when he heard those words. He recognized his own comment on social media. I never said, yes, you did. She always loosens the purse strings. Do you remember? The color completely drained from his face. It was a thoughtless comment. Thoughtless comments are the most honest, Ryan. Chloe looked at me with a mixture of pain and confusion. You checked my social media? Yes, because you erased me from your real life. All I had left was to watch your fake life on the internet. Mum, that's not fair. You know what's not fair, Chloe? That your mother pays for your house and you never invite her to see it. That your mother authorizes your promotion and you embarrass her in front of guests. That your mother builds a company for you and you act as if you raised it alone. Every word was like a knife, but not of rage, of truth. Chloe covered her face with her hands. I didn't want things to be this way. Then why did you allow it? Because I... Ryan touched her shoulder. Chloe, you don't have to explain anything. Yes, she does have to explain, I said. Because I deserve it. David intervened softly. Mrs. Harris, are you sure you want to sell your shares? It's a very big decision. Completely sure, David. And who do you plan to sell them to? A private equity firm from New York. I already have the offer. It's $600 million. Chloe lifted her head sharply. 600 million. That's right. But that means that the company will no longer be mine. Nor yours. It will belong to strangers. Charlotte stood up. Eleanor, you can't do that. Chloe works there. She has a future there. Chloe has a college degree. She has experience. If she really is as good as she says, she'll find a job anywhere. But it's not the same, Ryan shouted. Sterling Harris Group has your name. It's your legacy. It was my legacy. But Chloe decided I wasn't part of her life, so she won't be part of mine either. Mum, please. Chloe stood up. Don't throw everything away for a moment of anger. This isn't a moment, Chloe. These are 2 years of humiliation, 2 years of silence, 2 years of feeling invisible. I stepped closer to her. Do you know how many times I cried, hoping you would call? How many times I prepared food thinking you would come? How many times I stayed awake wondering what I did wrong? My voice broke. I gave you everything, Chloe. Everything. And you cast me aside. Tears streamed down her face. Mum, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. I know, but forgiveness is not enough. What do you want then? I want you to understand what it feels like to lose everything, just as I lost you. Mr. Miller cleared his throat. Mrs. Harris, if you sign these documents tonight, the sale will be effective in 72 hours. I picked up the pen. Chloe reached out her hand. Mum, wait. Please give me a chance. Let me show you I can change. Chloe, I don't need you to change. I need you to realize something. Realize what? That money doesn't buy love. That success doesn't replace loyalty. That a mother is not an ATM. Ryan started crying. Mrs. Harris, please. We need you. Do you need me? Or do you need my money? He didn't answer. That's the difference, Ryan. You never needed me. Only what I could give you. Charlotte approached. Eleanor, be reasonable. Think of your daughter. Think of her future. I've spent 32 years thinking about her future. Now I'm going to think about mine. I signed the first document, then the second, and the third. Every signature was a liberation. Every stroke was a farewell. Not to my daughter, but to the illusion that things would ever go back to the way they were. When I finished, I handed the documents to Mr. Miller. Done. Chloe slumped in her chair, completely defeated. And now what, Mum? What am I going to do now? What we all do when we lose something important. Learn. Learn what? To value what you have before it's gone. I took the silver brooch from my dress, the brooch my mother gave me, the brooch I had worn during every important moment of my life. I approached Chloe. Take this. What is it? It's my mother's brooch. She gave it to me on my wedding day. She told me to wear it to remember where I come from. I placed it in her hand. I want you to keep it. And every time you see it, I want you to remember this night. I want you to remember that love cannot be bought, that family cannot be abandoned, and that a mother will always be a mother, even if you choose to forget her. Chloe closed her hand around the brooch, and she wept. She wept as she hadn't wept in years. Ryan was paralyzed. Charlotte looked lost. David looked at me with a mixture of sadness and admiration. I walked toward the door. The dinner is over. Please leave. Mum? Chloe stood up. Can I go with you? We've talked, Chloe. Please, not tonight. Tonight, I need to be alone. When then? When you understand why I did this. I opened the door. One by one, they walked out. Down they, Ryan crying, Charlotte in silence, David with a respectful goodbye. Chloe was the last to leave. She stopped at the threshold. Mum, I love you. I know, honey, but sometimes love is not enough. What do you mean? That love without respect is manipulation, and I won't allow myself to be manipulated anymore. I never wanted to manipulate you. But you did. Every time you asked me for money knowing I couldn't refuse you. Every time you used my love as an excuse for your irresponsibility. Every time you pushed me out of your life but kept me close to your wallet. She fell silent. Good night, Chloe. I closed the door, and for the first time in 2 years, I was alone, completely alone. But I didn't feel empty. I felt free. I walked to the living room. I sat on the same sofa where I used to read stories to Chloe when she was a child. I touched my neck, the place where the brooch always was. And although I no longer had it, I felt my mother's presence. I did it, Mum. I finally spoke. And in the silence of that empty house, I felt peace. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room looking at the photos on the wall. Chloe at 5 with her puppy in the backyard. Chloe at 12 on her middle school graduation day. Chloe at 18, the day she started college. Chloe on her wedding day, smiling next to Ryan. Each photo was a memory. Each memory was a farewell. Because I knew that after this night, nothing would be the same. And I didn't regret it. Because sometimes losing something is the only way to recover yourself. Sometimes letting go is the greatest act of self-love. Sometimes saying no more is the bravest thing you can do. That night, as silence filled every corner of my house, I understood something my mother always knew. That a woman who respects herself is never lost, even if she loses everything else. The days after that dinner were the strangest of my life. Not because I was alone, but because for the first time in years, I felt whole. Monday morning, I received a call from David. Mrs. Harris, the New York investors confirmed the purchase. They want to meet with you Friday to sign the final contract. Perfect, David. I'll be there. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are you sure about this? There's still time to reconsider. I looked out the window. The garden I had cared for years, the hydrangeas Robert planted, the rocking chair where I used to sit and think. More sure than ever, David. I understand. And Chloe? Has she spoken to you? No. Do you want me to tell you how she is? No. When she's ready, she'll reach out to me. Mum, she's devastated. Good. That means she's finally feeling something real. Silence. With all due respect, Mrs. Harris, I think you did the right thing. Thank you, David. I hung up, and for the first time in weeks, I smiled. The following days were a mixture of liberation and melancholy. I packed all of Chloe's photos into a box. I didn't throw them away, but I didn't leave them in sight either. I cleaned the house, I donated old clothes, I rearranged the furniture, I opened the windows. It was as if I was cleaning my life, letting go of what no longer served me. Wednesday afternoon, the doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was Ryan. His eyes were swollen, he was unshaven, his hair messy, wearing simple jeans and a hoodie. I had never seen him like that. Mrs. Harris, may I come in? I hesitated, but finally nodded. Go ahead. We walked into the living room. He sat on the edge of the sofa, nervous. Do you want water? Coffee? No, thank you. I sat across from him. Why are you here, Ryan? He looked down. I came to apologize. Apologize for what? For everything. For how I treated you. For the things I said. For pushing Chloe away from you. Does Chloe know you're here? No. She is very upset, Mrs. Harris. She hasn't slept. She barely eats. She just sits there staring at the brooch you gave her. I felt something in my chest, but I didn't give in. And you? How are you? Scared. Of what? Of losing everything. There it was, the truth. Losing everything, or losing the money. He looked up, tears in his eyes. I know you think I only cared about the money, and maybe at first it was like that, but I do care about Chloe. Do you care about her? Or do you care about the life she gives you? I don't know. At least he was honest. Ryan, do you know why I did what I did? Because you were angry. No, because I was tired. Tired of being invisible. Tired of being used. Tired of my love being conditional. I never wanted you to feel that way. But you made me feel that way. You and your mother. Ryan started to cry. My mum. My mum always told me to marry someone who could give me a good life. That love isn't enough. That I needed security. And Chloe gave you that. Yes, but now I don't know if what I feel for her is love or habit. I remained silent, because that was a question only he could answer. Mrs. Harris, do you think Chloe loves me? I think Chloe loves the idea of you, the perfect husband, the perfect family, the perfect life. But I don't know if she really knows you. And do you think I know her? What do you think? He fell silent, and in that silence was the answer. Why did you really come, Ryan? Because I'm afraid everything will collapse. It already collapsed. The question is, what are you going to build now? And if we can't build anything, then we'll know the truth. What truth? That what you had wasn't real. It was an illusion sustained by my money. Ryan covered his face with his hands, and he cried. He cried like a lost boy, and for a moment I felt compassion for him. Ryan, I'm going to tell you something my mother once told me. A man who builds his life on the money of others will never be free, because he will always live in fear of losing it. And what should I do? Only you know that. He wiped his tears. Will you ever forgive us? I have already forgiven you, Ryan. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean going back. Then what does it mean? It means releasing the pain, but not releasing the lesson. He stood up. Thank you for having me. You're welcome. He walked toward the door but stopped. Mrs. Harris, Chloe misses you. A lot. I know. Do you miss her too? Every day. But that doesn't change what I did. Why not? Because love is not enough when there is no respect. Ryan nodded and left. I closed the door. And I realized something. Ryan didn't come to apologize for me. He came to apologize for himself, because he was beginning to understand what it feels like to lose something you never valued. Thursday night, I received a message from Chloe. It was a voice message. I hesitated, but finally I played it. Mum, it's me. I know you don't want to talk to me, and I understand, but I need to tell you something. Her voice sounded broken. You're right. About everything. I was a bad daughter. I used you. I ignored you. I made you feel invisible, and there's no excuse for that. I listened to her catch her breath. I've been thinking a lot about everything you said, about everything I did, and I realized that I lost you a long time ago. Not Friday, but years ago. Silence. And the worst part is I didn't even realize it. I was so busy trying to be someone important that I forgot the most important person in my life. My heart tightened. David told me you're signing the sale on Friday. And I understand why you're doing it. Because I forced you to do it. Because I showed you I didn't deserve your sacrifice. Her voice broke. I just want you to know that I love you, Mum. I've always loved you, even if I didn't show it, even if I acted like you didn't matter. I wept. I wept listening to the words I had waited years for. I'm not asking you to change your mind. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I realize it, that I finally understand what I lost. The message ended. I stayed seated with the phone in my hand, and for the first time since that dinner, I felt something in my heart soften. But I didn't respond, because it wasn't time yet. Friday arrived. I dressed in a navy blue suit. I put on my pearl earrings. I styled my hair. I carefully applied my makeup. But I didn't wear the silver brooch, because that brooch was with Chloe now, and it was better that way. I arrived at the Sterling Harris Group offices at 10 in the morning, the building I had watched grow, the walls I knew by heart, the company I had built with blood, sweat, and tears. Everything was about to stop being mine, and I didn't regret it. David was waiting for me in the conference room. Next to him, 3 men in perfect suits, the New York investors. Mrs. Harris, these are Mr. Peterson, Mr. Schmidt, and Mr. Cohen. We exchanged greetings. It's an honor to meet you, Mrs. Harris. Sterling Harris Group is an exceptional company. Thank you. We sat down. Mr. Miller opened his briefcase. We have the contracts ready. If Mrs. Harris signs today, the transaction will be effective in 72 hours. Perfect. One of the investors cleared his throat. Mrs. Harris, before you sign, I'd like to ask you something. Why are you selling? Sterling Harris Group is at its best. The projections are excellent. It makes no sense to sell now. I looked out the window, toward the city that had been my home for so many years. I'm selling because I learned something important. What? That sometimes the most valuable thing you have isn't what you build, but knowing when to let it go. He nodded, respectfully. I understand. I picked up the pen, and I signed. Once, twice, 3 times. Every signature was a farewell, but also a new beginning. When I finished, the investors shook my hand. "It has been a pleasure doing business with you, Mrs. Harris." "Likewise." David walked me to the door. "Mum, what's going to happen now?" "Live, David. I'm finally going to live." "And Chloe?" "Chloe will have to learn to live too, without me." "Does she know the sale was signed today?" "I didn't tell her. It's going to hurt." "I know. But sometimes pain is the only way to wake up." David smiled sadly. "It has been an honor to work with you all these years." "The honor was mine, David." We hugged, and I walked out of that building for the last time, head held high, heart light, with the certainty that I had done the right thing. That night at my house, I made myself a cup of chamomile tea. I sat in the backyard, under the stars, and for the first time in years, I felt at peace. Because I had learned something that changed my life. That true love is not sacrificing yourself until you disappear. It's loving yourself enough to set boundaries. It's respecting your own dignity. It's knowing that you can lose everything, except yourself. And that night, as the wind rustled the hydrangea leaves, I felt my mother was with me, smiling, proud, because finally I had learned to let go. 3 months after signing the sale, my life was completely different. Not materially, but essentially. I sold the townhouse. It was too big for me alone, too many memories, too many shadows of the past. I bought a small condo in Santa Monica, with large windows that let in the light, a balcony with flower pots full of succulents, a kitchen where I only cooked for myself. It was perfect. I started doing things I had postponed for years. I took painting classes. I discovered I loved oil painting, the vibrant colors, the freedom to create something just for the pleasure of creating it. I joined a book club, women my age with stories similar to mine, divorces, distant children, rebuilt lives. We met on Tuesdays, we drank coffee, we talked about books and about life. For the first time in years, I had friends. One of them, Brenda, told me one afternoon, "Eleanor, you look different." "Different how?" "Lighter, as if a weight has been lifted off your shoulders." I smiled. That's exactly how I feel. During those 3 months, I didn't look for Chloe, and she didn't look for me. At first, it hurt. Every day I expected a message, a call, something. But little by little, the pain transformed into acceptance, and acceptance into peace. David called me occasionally, just to see how I was. "Mrs. Harris, how are you doing?" "Well, David, very well. I'm happy to hear that. And how is the company?" "The new owners are making changes, some good, some not so much." "And Chloe?" Silence. "What happened, David?" "Chloe no longer works at Sterling Harris Group." I froze. "What?" "The investors reviewed all the files. They found irregularities." "What kind of irregularities?" "Personal expenses charged to the company, unjustified bonuses, false performance reports." My heart stopped. Chloe did that. Not directly, but she authorized many of those expenses, and when the investors asked her for explanations, she couldn't justify them. Did they fire her? They requested her resignation. If she didn't resign, they were going to sue her. I closed my eyes. When did this happen? 2 weeks ago. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I thought you didn't want to know. I will always want to know, David. She is my daughter. I know, Mom. Sorry. Do you know how she is? Not very well. Ryan left her. What? A week ago. He moved out of the house. He filed for divorce. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. Why? From what I heard, because Chloe no longer has money. The house is about to be foreclosed on. The cars were repossessed. And well, Ryan didn't want to stick around for the hard part. I remained silent, because although part of me felt pain for my daughter, another part understood that this was necessary, that this was the lesson Chloe needed to learn. Thank you for telling me, David. Are you going to look for her? No, not yet. Why not? Because if I look for her now, she'll think I'm there to rescue her. And that wouldn't help her. She needs to hit rock bottom. She needs to understand the consequences of her decisions. You are very wise, Mrs. Harris. I'm not wise. I'm just a mother who learned to love differently. I hung up. And that night, I cried. I cried for my daughter, for the pain she was experiencing, for the lessons she was learning, but I didn't look for her, because I knew she had to walk alone. 2 weeks later, I ran into Charlotte. It was at a coffee shop in Beverly Hills. I was having a cappuccino, reading a book, and she walked in. We looked at each other, and for a moment, I thought she was going to ignore me, but she didn't. She approached my table. Eleanor. Charlotte. May I sit down? If you like. She sat down. She ordered a tea. We were silent for several minutes. Finally, she spoke. I suppose you already know about Chloe and Ryan. Yes. Ryan is living with me. He's very upset. I can imagine. He says he made a mistake, that he never should have left Chloe. And what do you think? Charlotte looked down. I think I also made a mistake. Which one? The mistake of teaching my son that money is more important than love. I remained silent. For years, I told him to marry someone who could give him security, that love doesn't pay the bills, that he needed to think with his head, not his heart. And now I see that I have a son who doesn't know how to love, who only knows how to calculate, who only knows how to use. Her eyes filled with tears. And the worst part is I made him that way. Charlotte. No, Eleanor. Let me speak. I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. I treated you badly. I judged you. I made you feel less because deep down I was envious. Envious of what? Of your strength, of your independence, that you raised a company by yourself, that you didn't need anyone to be someone. She wiped her tears. I got married young. I had Ryan young. And my husband supported me my whole life. I never worked. I never had my own money. I never had my own identity. Charlotte, being a mother and a wife is also work. I know, but it's not the same. When my husband died, I was left with a pension, with a house, but without purpose, without self-worth. Is that why you wanted Ryan to marry someone with money? Yes, because I didn't want him to depend on someone the way I depended. But I was wrong, because now he's worse. He doesn't depend on anyone, because he doesn't know how to love anyone. He can still learn. Do you think so? We can all learn, if we want to. Charlotte looked at me with sad eyes. Eleanor, will you ever be able to forgive me? I have already forgiven you, Charlotte. Really? Really? Holding a grudge only hurts me, not you. You are an admirable woman. No, I'm just a woman who learned to let go. We sat in silence, drinking our drinks. And for the first time, I felt compassion for Charlotte, because I understood that she, too, was a victim of a society that taught her that her value was in the man beside her, not in herself. A month later, I received a letter. It was from Chloe, handwritten on a crumpled sheet of paper, with shaky handwriting. I opened it, my heart racing. "Mum, I don't know if you'll read this letter. I don't know if I still matter to you, but I need to write it. 4 months have passed since that dinner. 4 months that have been the hardest of my life. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost Ryan. I lost everything I thought defined me. And in the middle of all that loss, I finally found you. Not physically, but in my memory. I remembered when I was a child and you read me bedtime stories. I remembered when I was 12 and Dad died, and you told me, 'We're going to be okay. We're always going to be okay.' I remembered when I graduated from college, and you cried with pride. I remembered all the times you were there, asking for nothing in return. And I realized something that tore my soul apart, that I forgot you. I forgot you when I got married. I forgot you when I started making money. I forgot you when Ryan convinced me you were a nuisance. I forgot you when you needed me the most. And now that I've lost everything, I finally understand what I lost first. You. Mum, I'm not writing to ask you to rescue me. I'm not writing to ask you for money. I'm not writing to ask you to come back. I'm writing to say thank you. Thank you for loving me even when I didn't love you back. Thank you for giving me everything even when I didn't deserve it. Thank you for letting me go when I needed to fall. Because you were right, Mum. Sometimes the only way to learn is by losing. And I needed to lose everything to understand what really matters. I live in a small apartment now. I work at a community tech repair shop. I earn little. I live simply. But for the first time in years, I feel free. Free from appearances, free from expectations, free from lies. Every day I look at the brooch you gave me, and every day I remember your words. Love without respect is manipulation. You were right. I manipulated you. I used you. I hurt you. And there's no excuse for that. I just want you to know that I realize it, that I understand it, and that I will spend the rest of my life trying to be the person you deserved as a daughter, even if I'm no longer by your side. I love you, Mum. I have always loved you. Chloe. I finished reading the letter with tears rolling down my cheeks, and for the first time in months, I felt my daughter had woken up. Not the Chloe who had everything and valued nothing, but the Chloe who lost everything and finally understood. That night, I wrote back, also handwritten, on paper, with the same solemnity. Chloe, I read your letter several times, and I want you to know something. I never stopped loving you, not even when you hurt me the most, because that's what a mother does. She loves even when it hurts. But a mother's love doesn't mean allowing herself to be hurt, and that's what I had to learn. That loving is not enduring, it's setting boundaries. That loving is not giving everything, it's teaching value. That loving is not staying silent, it's having the courage to speak. You did things that hurt me, deeply, but I also did things that hurt you, by letting you go, by selling the company, by taking the ground from under your feet. And I don't regret it, because now I see what you are capable of being. A woman who works with her hands, a woman who lives with dignity, a woman who finally understands that value isn't in what you have, but in who you are. I am proud of you, Chloe. Not the director of operations who earned $300,000, but the woman who works simply and lives honestly. Because that woman is real. That woman is free. That woman is my daughter. You once called me embarrassing. Years later, I see that same emptiness in Ryan's eyes as he is alone at his mother's house, regretful. Life always collects its debts. And although our path has been painful, I am grateful. Because you taught me something I needed to learn, that letting go is not stopping love. It's loving enough to let grow. When you are ready, come find me, not to ask me for anything, just to have a cup of coffee and start over. As mother and daughter, as people who respect each other, as family who earned their place back. I love you, Chloe. I will always love you. Mum. I sent the letter. And 2 weeks later, Chloe knocked on my door. She was wearing old jeans, a simple shirt, worn shoes, but her eyes shone. Hello, Mum. Hello, honey. We hugged, and in that embrace was all the forgiveness, all the pain, all the love. We didn't talk about money. We didn't talk about the company. We didn't talk about the past. We just sat on my balcony. We drank coffee, and we talked about life. How is your job? I asked. Tiring, but honest. I'm glad to hear that. And you? How are you? Free. She smiled. I'm happy for you, Mum. We sat in silence, watching the sunset. And finally, Chloe said, Mum, you were right about everything. No, not everything, but about what mattered. Yes. Do you know what the hardest part of losing everything is? What? Realizing that it was never mine, that everything I had came from you, and that I took it as if I deserved it. Now you know. Now I know. She took my hand. Thank you for not rescuing me. Thank you for learning the lesson. And in that moment, I felt that karma had done its job. Not with vengeance, but with justice. Chloe had lost everything material, but she had gained something invaluable: dignity, humility, and the opportunity to start over, as a new woman, as my daughter. Finally. 6 months after that first coffee on my balcony, my life had found a balance I never imagined possible. It wasn't the life I had planned. It was better, because it was mine, completely mine. Chloe and I saw each other once a week, sometimes twice, but never more, because we had both learned something fundamental. Healthy love needs space. She continued working at the community tech repair shop. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't what she had dreamed of, but it was honest. She told me about her customers, about her co-workers, about how she was learning to live with less. Do you know what the strangest thing is, Mum? She told me one afternoon while we were having coffee in a park. What? That I sleep better now. Before, when I had everything, I lived in constant fear of losing it. Now that I've lost it, I'm no longer afraid. I smiled. That's called freedom, honey. I never thought freedom would come from having less. True wealth is not what you have, it's what you don't need. She nodded, and I saw something in her eyes that I hadn't seen in years. Peace. She told me about the divorce process with Ryan. It was quick. He didn't want anything from me because there was nothing left to take. How do you feel about it? Relieved. Sad. But mostly relieved. Why sad? Because I realize I never truly loved him. I just loved the idea of him, the perfect husband, the perfect life. And him? I think he didn't love me either. He just loved what I could give him. Then you are both better off this way. Yes, even though it hurts to admit it. We sat in silence, watching the children play in the park. Mum, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you ever regret selling the company? I thought about her question. really thought. No, not a single day. Why not? Because the company was just brick and mortar and paper. You are my flesh and blood, and I preferred to lose the company temporarily than to lose you forever. Her eyes filled with tears. You didn't lose me, Mum. You found me. No, honey, you found yourself. And in that moment, I knew it had been worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every difficult decision, everything had been worth it. Because my daughter had returned. Not the daughter I had lost, but a better one who had learned. During those months, I also heard news about Ryan, through Brenda, my friend from the book club. Eleanor, remember your son-in-law? Yes. What about him? I saw him the other day at a coffee shop. He was with his mother. And? They looked different. Ryan had lost weight. No designer clothes. Simple outfit. Nothing like the man who flaunted on social media. Did you talk to them? No, but I overheard them talking. Ryan was crying. He was telling his mother that he had made the worst mistake of his life. By leaving Chloe? Yes. He said Chloe was the only person who had ever truly loved him, and that he had scorned her. I stayed silent. Do you want me to tell you something else? Tell me. His mother replied to him. Son, I taught you everything I knew, but I never taught you how to love, and that's what I regret the most. I felt something in my chest. It wasn't satisfaction. It wasn't revenge. It was compassion. Because I understood that Ryan was also a victim of an upbringing that taught him that a man's value was in what he could acquire, not in who he could be. Do you think he'll be okay? Brenda asked me. I hope so. Everyone deserves a second chance, even him. You are very generous, Eleanor. I'm not generous. I just learned that holding a grudge is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. Brenda smiled. That's why I admire you. Don't admire me. Learn from my mistakes. Which mistakes? Staying silent for so long, allowing myself to be disrespected, believing that love was enough without dignity. But you solved it in the end. Yes, but it cost me years, and I almost lost my daughter. But you didn't lose her. No, I didn't lose her. And that was the truth that filled my heart every day. One Saturday afternoon, Chloe came to my condo with something in her hands. Hi, Mum. Hi, honey. What do you have there? A gift. For me? For you. She handed me a small box, wrapped in plain paper. I opened it. Inside was the silver brooch. My mother's brooch. The brooch I had given Chloe that night. Chloe, I want you to keep it. But I gave it to you. I knew. And it was the most valuable gift I've ever received. Because every time I saw it, I remembered who I am and where I come from. Tears started rolling down my cheeks. But now I don't need it to remember, because I carry it here. She touched her chest. And I want you to have it back, because it's yours. It was always yours. I took the brooch with trembling hands. Honey. Mum, I also want to tell you something else. I'm saving. Not much, but something. And when I have enough, I'm going to pay you back the money I borrowed. Chloe, I do need to. I need to show you that I'm not the same person who used you. I need to show you that I learned. You already showed me. No, not yet. But I will, even if it takes years. I hugged her, and in that embrace, I felt that the whole cycle had closed. The pain, the learning, the redemption, everything. I am proud of you, Chloe. Thank you for not giving up on me, Mum. I would never give up on you. You are my daughter. We stayed embraced for a long time, and when we separated, I saw the woman she had become. Not the successful woman who made millions, but the dignified woman who worked for her dreams. And it was beautiful. That night, after Chloe left, I pinned the silver brooch back on. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw a different woman, a woman who had been through the fire, who had lost everything, who had cried until she ran out of tears, but who had emerged stronger, wiser, freer. I touched the brooch and heard my mother's voice. A woman who knows when to remain silent also knows when to speak. I smiled. I did it, Mum. I finally spoke, and in the silence of my condo, I felt her presence, proud, satisfied, at peace. The following months brought a calm I hadn't experienced in years. I continued taking painting classes. I exhibited some of my artwork at a small gallery in Santa Monica. I didn't sell much, but it didn't matter, because I wasn't doing it for money. I was doing it for me. I continued going to the book club. The women became my family. We supported each other. We listened to each other. We understood each other, because we had all lived similar stories of sacrifice, of pain, of rebirth. One afternoon, while painting on my balcony, I received a call. It was David. "Mrs. Harris, how are you?" "Well, David. And you?" "I'm well, too. I'm calling to tell you something." "What happened?" "I resigned from Sterling Harris Group." "What? Why?" "Because the new owners don't have the values you had. Everything is just numbers to them. They don't care about people." "I'm sorry, David." "Don't be sorry. It was the best decision. I opened my own consulting firm, and guess who my first client was?" "Who?" "Chloe." I went silent. "Chloe?" "Yes. She has a business idea. Small, modest, but solid. She asked me to help her put together the business plan." "What is it about?" "She wants to open a tech repair shop, but with a social mission, repairing old devices to donate to low-income schools." I felt my heart swell with pride. "David, that is beautiful." "It is. And the best part is that she's doing everything on her own, with her savings, with her own work." "Does she need help?" "She made me promise not to tell you anything. She says she wants to do it alone." I smiled. "Then respect her wish." "I will. I just wanted you to know that your daughter is a good woman, Mrs. Harris. She is finally the woman you always believed she could be." "Thank you for telling me, David." "Thank you, Mom, for teaching us all what it means to have dignity." I hung up, and I cried. But this time, they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of joy. Because my daughter was building something, not with my money, not with my name, but with her hands, with her effort, with her heart. And that was worth more than any corporation. 6 months later, Chloe opened her shop. She invited me, but not as a guest of honor, just as another person. "Mom, I don't want you to feel obligated to come." "Are you kidding? I wouldn't miss it for anything." "It's small. Nothing compared to—" "Chloe, stop. It's yours. And that makes it great." On opening day, I arrived early. The shop was in a working-class neighborhood. It wasn't luxurious, but it was clean, organized, with a hand-painted sign that read, "Renewed Electronics, Second Chances for Everything." I smiled when I read the name, because it was perfect. Chloe was inside, wearing an apron, preparing everything. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. "Mum, you came?" "Of course I came." She showed me the shop, the workbenches, the tools, the devices she had already repaired. "This tablet is going to a school in South Central. This computer to a community centre. This radio to a senior living home. Honey, this is beautiful. It's small, but it's honest. It's everything." We stood looking at the shop in silence. "Mum, can I tell you something?" "Always." "I'm happier now than when I had everything." "I know." "How do you know?" "Because I see it in your eyes." "And you? Are you happy?" "Happier than ever." "Do you miss the company?" "Sometimes, but I wouldn't trade it for what I have now." "What do you have now?" "Peace, freedom, and my daughter back." We hugged, and in that embrace was everything. Forgiveness, love, redemption, everything. The opening was simple. Neighbors came, some customers, David, some people from Chloe's old job. But Ryan didn't come, nor Charlotte, and that was fine. Because this new life had no space for people who only wanted to take, only for people who'd wanted to give. At the end of the day, when everyone had left, Chloe and I sat at the shop entrance, watching the sunset. "Mum, do you know what day it is today?" "No, a year ago. A year ago was the dinner where everything changed." "You're right. That day I thought I had lost everything. But now I see that day. I gained everything." "What did you gain?" "I gained myself. And I gained you. For real this time." I took her hand. "Honey, I was always there. You were just too blind to see me." "I know. And I'm sorry." "Don't apologize anymore. Just keep going." "Do you know what I'm most grateful for?" "What?" "That you had the courage to let me go. Because if you hadn't, I would still be that empty woman who only cared about appearances." "You didn't have to thank me. I had to do it. For you. And for me." "Did you ever doubt it?" "Every day. But I knew it was the right thing to do. And what if it hadn't worked? What if I had remained the same? Then I would have learned to live without you, but with my dignity intact." She nodded. "You are the strongest woman I know." "I'm not strong. I just learnt to love myself." "That is being strong." We sat in silence, watching the sun disappear behind the buildings. And in that silence, I understood something fundamental. That life isn't about not falling. It's about getting back up. That love isn't about giving everything. It's about giving value to yourself. That family isn't about blood. It's about respect. And that sometimes losing is the only way to win. That night, when I returned to my condo, I sat on my balcony, with a cup of tea, with the silver brooch on my dress. And I thought about everything I had lived through. The pain, the betrayal, the loss, but also the healing, the forgiveness, the rebirth. And I understood that everything had been necessary. Every tear, every difficult decision, every sleepless night. Everything had brought me here, to this moment, to this peace, to this version of myself that had finally found herself. I picked up my phone, and I wrote something I needed to write. Not for Chloe, not for anyone else. For myself. "Dear Eleanor, today I want to tell you something I should have told you years ago. I am proud of you. Proud of how you stood up when everyone gave up on you. Proud of how you loved even when you were hurt. Proud of how you had the courage to let go when it was necessary. For years, you derived your value from what you gave to others. But today you know that your value is in who you are, not in what you have, not in what you give, not in what you sacrifice, but in your dignity, in your strength, in your ability to love without losing yourself. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for learning to let go. Thank you for teaching me that self-love is not selfishness, it is survival. With love, yourself. I saved the note, and I smiled, because I was finally complete. If my story helps a single woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my story teaches someone that love without respect is not love, it will have been worth it. If my story shows a mother that letting go is not stopping love, it will have been worth it. Because pain is not eternal, but the lessons are. And my lesson was this: that a woman who respects herself cannot be destroyed. She can be hurt, she can be betrayed, she can lose everything, but she cannot be destroyed, because her value is not outside, it is inside. And no one can take that away from her. My name is Eleanor Harris. I'm 58 years old. And this is my story. The story of a woman who lost everything to find herself. The story of a mother who let go of her daughter so both could be free. The story of a woman who chose her dignity above everything else. And if someone asked me today, was it worth it? I would say yes. 1,000 times. Yes. Because now I sleep in peace. Because now I live in freedom. Because now, finally, I am me. Thank you for listening until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and activate the notification bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, one woman, one life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change an entire day. May God bless you, and until next time. The deepest wound often comes from those you love the most, but the moment you choose your self-worth over their need for control, you are truly free. True financial power is not measured by the millions in your bank account or the size of the company you own, but by the confidence to walk away from anything that costs you your peace, even if that means demolishing the entire foundation you built for them. A mother's love is boundless, but it must never be unconditional to the point of self-erasure. Setting boundaries is the most profound and necessary act of love, for both yourself and your children. By refusing to be an ATM and forcing them to earn their own way, you give them the invaluable gift of dignity and self-reliance, transforming a painful loss into a shared path toward authentic life.